Welcome to Unthink Me. We're going to talk a little bit about switching rapidly between tolerance and acceptance, or guilt and excitement, or good and bad versions of yourself according to your own self-definitions. This is a super typical psychic indigo frame of reference. You're all concerned with like the relationship between ego and psyche. You're realizing that you're free from that mental prison of your constructed narrative story, and all the things happening to your person don't have to be felt as directly at you, because you're just this thing watching the story happen. Trying to keep those peak states, trying to keep the switch on if you're me, or that's a very dualistic conception, but trying to retain peak states, trying to stay in a state of full acceptance and just monitoring and empathy was kind of your gateway starting point with that. This is the kind of the concerns of the psychic level, the bridge between story ego into psychic acceptance monitoring. Other kind of stages of states get into other stuff, but this is right where you want to be. So we're talking about like, what is the nature of the peak state? Is it like a rubber band or like a bungee cord? Like if you have too much peak state and plateau too long, it's like pushing, you're gonna fly back down. This is the kind of bipolar concern that it's gonna, so no, stay in the middle, stay cool. But oh God, I got way up here and it was so cool and I just want to be up there and it's pulling me down. Life sucks. I hate life. Yeah.
And it's not elastic two directions. It's not like if you stay down for a long time, you're going to like snap back up.
No, it's one certainly direction. Not like that.
So it's way safer to just kind of stay in the middle. Or presumably, because if I go farther out, it's going to snap me back down. But if I stay right in the middle, the force of gravity doesn't pull me down. I'm just kind of gliding.
That downward, it's not like it snaps you. And usually the more down you are, it seems like downward spiral. The more down you are, the more down you are. But weirdly, in both of our cases, in a lot of cases, it is those things that are bombarding you so hard and you're in your lowest state when you really see yourself, when you start to go like, oh, I'm actually not this whole sad, terrible thing happening. Because it's so sad and terrible, but I'm not that. I'm
That's
actually
not
okay.
Me. Yeah.
That's a thing.
It's just a thing. It's only a thing.
And so we were quite like, okay, is it more rubber? Is it more elastic? Does it pull you the other way? Or is it more elastic? The more you get into the peak, the more it'll keep going there. And the more you go lower, that's practice, that's forming habits. It's a little bit of both. We definitely accept both, but how much, hard to say. We like the elastic. That's kind of the idea of spiritual practice and positivity. You get into the habit of positivity, you get in the habit of freedom, you get in the habit of empathy.
It takes an exertion of some sort of force to move up. You have to do something. That may be something that you're cognitively doing or unconsciously doing because of external pressures that kind of squeeze you out of it. I think at a point you get strong enough that fighting the resistance to go back down, you're just stronger. It's putting 10 pounds of force on you and your legs get stronger, and 10 pounds of force isn't that much anymore, or nothing. It's effortless. Then maybe you're going up again.
And so maybe instead of strength, also cleverness. Like you're getting more, and it's harder and harder to trick me. The more and more I see this pattern, it's like, strength and cleverness both. Yeah. Wit, guile.
So the spark of my journey into peaking into third tier started with the social experiment I was exerting on myself of empathizing with everyone. Everything is a different situation. Like a tree fell on my house. Who is there to empathize with? Well, the tree, the wind, the snow, or whatever force exerted it. But was it targeting you, or it just happened? That's the kind of victim mentality that you have to abandon right away. To jump forward a little bit, I mean, that process took probably 2 months. And as that happens, people will, at first, you're empathizing with everyone. No one really recognizes that. As your happiness or oneness or acceptance increase, it sort of gradually goes up, and most people don't recognize that in another person.
Yeah.
Once you're at the point where it's a habit, it's easy, it's just what you do, to be okay with everything. And the first person that recognizes that is going to challenge you. Here's the tough part that they don't tell you about in storybooks. You will be challenged because no one wants anyone to be that happy ever. They want you to be just as miserable as they are.
It's not just everybody else. You're doing this too. You're also a challenger. Yeah.
Intentionally or unintentionally. If you see someone that's just happy all the time, you're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Why is he like partially jealousy on my own behalf? Like, why aren't I that happy all the time? Why is it just so effortless to be maybe not happy, but just like never upset?
And in your own relationship with yourself, like, do I deserve this? Like, am I cheating? Is this bullshit? Like, yeah, there's you, the critic of yourself, too, exerts that pressure. Like, come on,
the self-doubt.
Yeah.
So I had been tinkering with this and finding wild success and not feeling like a piece of shit all the time by just empathizing with everyone and accepting situations have already happened. By the time you're processing it, it's over. It's done. So just accept that it happened.
And then people are starting to challenge you. So now that you've got a little biome, and now we're putting it into the wild.
Everyone is going to be splashing cream. Oh, just splashing cream all over you. Get him.
Bukkake of cream over here.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here, little cup of coffee. This is actually what took me out of it. The plateau ended. It's relentless.
Yeah.
It comes at you small and unintentionally negative or not matching conflicting vibrations, as those oppositions that come towards you from other human beings are met with acceptance and empathy. Oh God, even pisses them off even more. Fuck you mean I can be happy? All I got to do is accept everything. Fuck you. It sort of exponentially gets going until you're like ganged up on. Everyone that is in your inner circle, outer circle, whatever, everyone that knows you well enough to have spotted this change is now also challenging you.
Yeah.
And
does other people have both in relation to you, just like you in relation to you, they have elasticity and plasticity. They are influenceable, but they're also trying to get you back. They're trying to get you back to where you were.
Yeah. Well, you're different now.
Yeah.
Things don't bother you. When I come to you to bitch about fill in the blank, you're like empathizing with fill in the blank and me. And so like we talked about this in an episode months back about in the lower or beginning parts of tier 1 infancy and Cro-Magnon and Homo pre-sapien. You don't care about anything because you don't know any better. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the mirror side, it looks like you don't care about anything because you care so much about everything that it seems effortless and it seems to the observer that you don't care. Well, you do, but also it doesn't affect you. On the bottom, you don't care and it doesn't affect you. At the top, you care so much that it doesn't affect you. And that's perceived as the bottom side of, oh, they just don't care. They don't get it. They're siding with my enemy because they just don't get it. And so the draw is not just your inner turmoil, your inner small self, your ego. It's the ego of others recognizing that you've broken this chain of self-doubt and self-loathing and self-questioning that it's inconceivable. In my specific instance, this group of people that I was with, some of them embraced what I was doing and tried it for themselves. And I would talk to them openly about it if they wanted to talk about it, because I'm not in that state. Your goal isn't to spread it.
No.
You don't have any goals really other than to maintain and be one with everything. This came up in a comment. I don't even think on our thread about what movies would a third tier person watch. Oh, they wouldn't watch movies because they're busy trying to be even more enlightened. They're whatever. Fill in the. I don't remember exactly how that played out, but third tier people are just solely one mind driven on being a third tier person. They wouldn't lower themselves to media of any sort or music or art or anything. Wholly untrue.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't enjoy sitting in a room where no one's talking or interacting as much, but sometimes that's cool too, because I'm willing to go and accept everything and anything that's coming at me. And so this group, some of them, um, in a religious sense, became disciples, right? They want to know how to get there and what you did and think what you're doing is amazing. And some of them want to be Judases and get close to you so that they can figure out what the hell's going on and then bring you back to reality, right? Bring you back to
Yeah.
where everyone else is. Your head's in the clouds, whatever. And I did have a job at the time, and people at work noticed this, and they challenged to an extent that an acquaintance would, but an acquaintance isn't a friend per se. So the friends are the ones that get really pokey. They're
Yeah.
the ones that get really elastic. Like, why aren't
Yeah.
you're like leaving the realm of whatever one of us was, whatever that may be. And so the questions that took processing, if you're accepting everything as it is, what if you see someone getting kidnapped? You froze licking your lips, so I was waiting for you to go.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Disciples and
And
Judases.
in thinking of it that way, you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Putting labels on the way people are approaching you, you're going to lose it. Like any of that stuff, you're going to lose it. You're going to drop the ball proverbially.
Proverbially. Yeah.
Rababas, chabababa.
According to Proverbs.
Yeah, so some people really want to understand where you got there, and the ones who care about you, that are poking and prodding and trying to get you to be back the way you were, because that was the friend they fell in love with, right? They'll ask pretty hard to answer questions. So the hardest one to convey an answer about was, they set the preface of, so you're just okay with everything. Yeah. And everything that happened, and so it was okay. Mm-hmm. So what if someone's getting kidnapped and you see it happening? Okay. What's the question?
Yeah.
What would I do? I would try to stop the kidnapping,
Yeah.
because someone is imposing their thing, fucking up everyone else's groove. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to get between. Well, what if you get shot? Well, that would be awesome, because that was what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
What if I don't get shot? Then you get down this very pointed, prickly pit into the, what's it called? An oubliette or an oubliette, an inescapable pit full of whatever turmoil it might be. Pokes, prods, pricks, mythical creatures, whatever. It's inescapable. It's inescapable.
Yeah.
So cream is being put into your coffee. The negative vibrations it's inescapable.
It's in the air.
So when those start to happen, I went to bed the night that I was asked that and thought to myself, it's been a good run. Like I knew that elasticity had won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over the last 10 years, I have reached that state countless times, but it's fleeting. It's just a glimpse or a feeling or a memory of the feeling. That was when I rode that state for several weeks. That was a good run to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just thinking in terms of like reality as this symphony, instead of it being like boring and you need something to change it, reality is just this beautiful symphony. And what changes from ego to psyche is like reality is saying you have to play the drums in this symphony becomes like, well, I'm sitting here in the symphony and I know how to play drums. I'm just going to play drums. I'm going to prevent this kidnapping with no attachment to the outcome. I don't need to save this kid. I don't need to be a hero. Well, fuck, I'm here and that's happening. What am I going to stand here? Like it's a no-brainer.
So having a decade to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came back 3 million years later and the answer was 42.
Yeah.
The person who's doing the kidnapping isn't shouting, "Don't help." Someone's asking for help. Now, what if someone were doing a kidnapping and the kidnappee, the victim, was completely silent and the imposer of this kidnapping, the kidnapper, is shouting, "Don't help"? That'd be weird, but it's the same question.
Yeah.
Don't help. Everybody, don't help. Don't help. And the other person's silent? Well, that's odd. But if someone's shouting help and the other person's not shouting don't help, I think the empathetic thing to do there would be to help, right? I would hope. Outcome be damned. There's the difference. Their immediate thing was, what if you get hurt in the process? Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. What if you could get hurt doing anything?
Yeah, you just be standing there.
Yeah, you should probably not exist if that's your concern, because you get hurt real bad. Maybe other things you might not get hurt as bad doing, but there's the positive and negative to any outcome. Whatever happened would have been okay, but hopefully I was able to help the person asking for help. Ultimately, it's a boy. She's a fuck. That's the way of the road.
You're reading a book in which the protagonist witnesses a kidnapping. As Psyche, you can just put the book away. But in the story, that character ought to go and do something about the kidnapping. Like, that's just obvious. I mean, that doesn't
Someone's
change.
asking for help.
Yeah, and nothing changes about all that stuff. It's just you're seeing it differently.
So while being sort of in this state that I believe I was in, retrospectively, in the moment, I just felt great about everything. I felt amazing. At the time, I wasn't as aware of state practices and
flag it as
all of these. Yeah, at the time, it was just a social experiment that was going really well for me.
Yeah.
And everyone else. Until they started to realize that I was intentionally being this way, and then it was questioned.
There's like a kind of classic thing of I'll put it like this. Like, if there's a semi coming at you, oh shit, there's a semi coming at me, I'm going to die. Is there a guy driving it or is it just rolling? Makes such a big difference, but it's the same damn thing. You're going to get hit by a semi, but oh, that driver's an idiot. Like, oh, what's this guy doing? It's crazy. There's a person in there. Otherwise, just, force of nature. A bear's coming at me. I better get out of here.
What are you going to empathize with fucking gravity?
I hate that guy.
Pervert.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say.
Kind of the assumption of agency. Yeah.
So someone asking for help deserves help. Someone asking for no help deserves no help. Deserves, expects, whatever.
Yeah.
In that time in my life, I asked for help more than I ever have ever before. And it's usually help understanding. Physical help, I didn't really need. If I did, I'd ask for it. But it was more like everyone wants to help if you ask for help. This is a dark psychology thing that goes back as long as...
Art of asking. Yeah.
You say, can you help me understand real quick? Opens up a conversation. It disarms a combative thing.
Yeah.
If you just say, what the hell were you thinking? Or if I say, can you help me understand? Now, both sound like your parents are... One sounds like you're mad. One sounds like you're disappointed. But ultimately, people want to help people who ask for help. Groups, crowds don't. But the individual, if someone asks for help, you want to. Whether you do or not, the urge immediately is to help. Maybe you're incapable physically or mentally or whatever help topic is being asked. But you want to. That's normal. Because asking for help is almost hitting the easy button for empathy, because they're about to let you know what their problem is, open and outright. Is it moving a couch, or is it solving a problem, or is it adversarial? Who knows? Like adversarial, combative,
Adversarial?
adversarial, adversarial.
An adversarial. Okay.
I pity the fool that doesn't eat Mr. T cereal. Anyway, that's where elasticity sort of hit a critical mass, and then I was chasing for a little while. It wasn't an immediate snapback because I was so familiar with the feeling and everything, but it became harder and harder to hold on to.
It became more of an act, right? It's kind of how I do it.
I kind of acted my way into it, and I gracefully acted my way out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I love it.
Until you're back to like, yeah, fuck that guy. I hate that guy too. Because it's easy. It's so easy to not empathize. That's the easiest thing ever, is just victimize, villainize. That's automatic. That's so easy. That's our tribe, their tribe.
And that's what the world's teaching us to do. That's the habit that's being trained into us. This
as a mammal,
radical acceptance, radical equanimity. Yeah, on all those levels.
It's just as a animal trying to survive, let alone one that can build skyscrapers.
And you can keep all that going. Like, that can remain in place. You can still be an ego story and a body story. It's just to have this other level too of radical acceptance and just like monitoring and taking in and expressing.
So I think the key factors that sort of pushed me along and got me there, my path, the how, turmoil.
Yeah, I like that. It's not like
turmoil.
Yeah.
A bit of seclusion. Because as I said, I wasn't out of touch with anything, but if I wanted to go back to the trappings of society and adorn myself with the trappings of society, go to a restaurant, go see a movie, whatever, that took effort. We were out of town. So the seclusion helped.
Yeah.
That's not it. The turmoil wasn't it, but the turmoil, seclusion, having people around me that I implicitly felt had my best interests at heart. Maybe not in mind, but at heart. Yeah. I trust these people aren't going to fuck me over. They're not trying to get something over on me. They just want me to exist with them, and I want them to exist with me.
Yeah.
Big part.
Those are good ingredients, yeah.
I would say the last one, and this one I've thought about more than any of the other ones over the past 10 years, and even at the time. Accepting when you're wrong and abandoning that wrong thing. Mentally. Mm-hmm. That took a while. that was building up before I even got there, and I owe it to Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller came out in the early aughts, I think, with a show called Bullshit. Up until I watched the episode they had on ghosts, I believed in ghosts. And then their show it's a show. It's for entertainment. They definitely are biased to an extent.
Yeah.
But their show on ghosts gave me a lot to think about. That, like, I mean, maybe ghosts aren't real. But the scientific mind in me said, well, if a theory is proven wrong, why would you stick with that theory? Like, you have to abandon it. Otherwise, there's no growth.
Yeah.
That wasn't an immediate thing that happened during this journey of mine. That was something that seed had been planted years and years before. It was only really adopted during this time that if I prove to myself that I'm wrong about something, or it's proven that I'm wrong about something, feelings, emotions, concepts, just abandoning that immediately, that's fucking tough. You may wean off it or whatever, but the faster you can abandon something that you are wrong about, opens that highway, it widens that highway of empathy so much wider. Because empathy, the reason you don't empathize is because you disagree with something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just agree. Yeah. Yeah. So if you disagree with something and then you're proven wrong, or maybe proven that there's a third way. They're not right. You're not right. You have to abandon the disagreements right away. And that's probably the hardest of the four I said. Turmoil, oh, you can dig that up wherever you want. Go spend millions of dollars of the bank's money. That's easy. Seclusion, that may be difficult because of your level of comfort, but it's relatively easy. Having that core group of trusted confidants, someone that might be family, that might be friends, that could be a retreat somewhere that you all just say, hey, I'm opening myself up. That's also a little easy. Abandoning what you're wrong about. Boy, that's tough. That's hard.
I associate that with the teal meme flex flow. That's kind of the personalities. You can flow into whatever is true in any moment, like any identity, anything. Not green though. Green's like deconstructing, but they're still kind of rooted in a perspective and they're still pushing back on things. But that just flowing into whatever's true, not even all these things you're saying, except for the peer group one, are forms of non-attachment, not being attached to a group identity, not being attached to needing stimulation, not being attached to being right or having a narrative or having an ideology, just non-attachment, just whatever proves true. I'm on my way toward that. I'm like on a
I would say
trajectory.
to lend a little more credence into the peer group thing, it's an emotional release to an extent because you don't have to guard. If you started crying in front of me, I wouldn't think any less of you. And I hope you know that. It's probably happened. Being in a place where that can happen, maybe you are completely by yourself. Maybe you don't have that sort of group or people in your life that's going to happen. But if you're somewhere where you are putting an emotion out there to try to release some pressure of that emotion, and it's met with negativity, it goes right back into captivity. It goes right back inside. So yeah, the seclusion part might be enough. But these people that I was with, if I started crying, they're not going to, oh, what's wrong? But they're also not going to be like, pussy. They're kind of neutral on that. It's okay. That's what I'm talking about there. The seclusion, you can scream at the woods all you want. You can cry in the forest or the ocean all you want on your sailboat out in the middle of nowhere. But there's no validity to it. You're just venting. If you have someone that at the end, it's like, well, what was that all about? I think that can expedite the process of relieving yourself of these emotional anchors, the emotional elasticity.
Yeah, sharing as a way to form objectivity too. Yeah, just sharing things you kind of stand apart from it and like, okay, now we're both looking at this thing, you know.
So maybe the three
Vulnerability.
things, and that's optional. So neither Adam or myself can give you a roadmap because it's
Nobody
going to
can.
be different for everyone else. I
It'll
can
be
give you
you.
some
It'll be
things
your deal. Yeah.
that helped me, and maybe if you could implement any one of those things, I would say empathy is probably the one that you can start right now. Understanding that the world and its environment is not out to get you. And every interaction you have today and every day forward, the other person has a motive for what they're doing. And it's usually not to fuck you.
My
It's
little
something
mini tip.
else. Get
I
at it.
remembered. My little mini tip is to practice being vulnerable, even when you wouldn't even think, like with your boss or like with your not your psychologist, not your mom, but your friends, business people. Try being vulnerable.
Someone you're not usually vulnerable with.
Share something you wouldn't normally. Yeah, just share something and just see and watch what happens very carefully. Not judging, not attached, just watch what happens and pay attention to that and keep doing it. Experiment with vulnerability and watch. That's it. Like
Are you getting into the
well,
psychology 202 class where your statement starts with I feel?
with vulnerability, yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Yeah, I feel this way. Or for me, it's just like sharing something that I'm keeping secret a lot of the time. Something that I wouldn't mention. I just kind of, here's the thing. What do you think? And see whether that is rewarded or punished, or they get like pedantic with you, or they
Mhm.
get like they react negatively, or just watch what happens. Do it to a bunch of people and see. Take a video of that shit. I think that's a really important because you don't really. I think it's a thing we don't pay attention to enough. Like, how is vulnerability rewarded or punished? And not to say like I'm 100% not saying that those are like your friends or those are good or bad or nothing like that. Just to always be aware of the tolerance for sharing in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
As definitely relationships, definitely like if you're looking for a great long-term career thing, like look for, is that the community that I'm in? Are the sorts of things that I want to be vulnerable about like accepted, and is that okay with me? Do I accept that?
Okay. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we have such a drive to share things, and we have such a fear of sharing things both at once, and just you got to be logging this data and paying attention so that then you can get better and better at being vulnerable where it is appropriate and welcome and wanted.
Part of my journey as well, and I was intentional to call this an experiment. So Adam is giving you parameters of an experiment to test vulnerability and look at reaction. So
Yeah,
it's not going to be the same for everybody, and it might not even be the same for the same person on the same topic.
100%.
It might be situational. It might be environmental. Who knows? But along those same lines, with abandoning things I know are wrong, was I did draw the line in the sand that I gave up believing in magic and mysticism. I don't think it exists. There's no such
Hmm.
thing as like magic tricks and things. Those are tricks.
Yeah.
Actual magic, actual miracles, miracles, not one in a million chances, but miracles don't exist to
Yeah,
me.
like what would that even mean? Like what, like there's no tech to it. It's just like
Right.
wish fulfillment.
I don't think less of people who do. It's just something that I abandoned. And I think that made giving up on things that I don't, that are proven wrong to me easier, because that was a big one to give up.
Yeah, I see.
Magic and mysticism. I remember getting in not an argument, but definitely a discussion where we both felt some kind of way about with someone we know. I'll tell you off camera about Siddhartha, the Buddha, sitting under a tree all day in the shade. And there was an animation. This was a documentary, and we were watching it at the same time. There was an animation of the character sitting under a tree, and the shadow of all the other trees was moving except the one they were under. And I don't remember why we paused it there, go to the bathroom, do something, but we paused it there, and we were talking about it. It's like, and I said, that was kind of dumb. Like, what do you mean? Like, well, the animation even went so far as to show other trees where the shadow is moving. And you're telling me my man is so cosmically accepted that the shade stayed on him and not the real life thing, which is he moved with the shade an inch at a time. And then we disagreed on that. Their belief was that the shade stayed on him. My belief was that he stayed in the shade. The shade moved and he stayed with it, because you're an idiot. You're not sitting in the shade anymore. If you don't, there is a magic and mysticism abandonment with an explanation. Yeah, he stayed in the shade all day. I don't doubt that. But it's not because he didn't move.
And what a ripoff too.
And another thing, yeah.
The whole point is that he's not favored by the gods. He's just a guy.
Yeah,
It's a hero.
God.
It's a hero. It's like this is how Mario Brothers movies ended. Mario didn't win through partnership and accepting his brother and courage. He got a fucking fire flower, or he got a ice flower, or whatever. He got a power up, a cheat code. Bowser's stronger in a battle of force. Bowser wins
With an
Mario
army.
That's not a hero. Yeah,
That's not a miracle. That's a 1 in a million.
That's lucky. I'm not proud of the Buddha for being lucky, being favored by the gods. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I want to. He should be the least favored motherfucker there is.
I don't think he was lucky at all. I think he was intentional.
Yeah.
And I just accepted that the shade's going to move, so I'm going to need to move. But I will be sitting. I'll tell you the fuck what. I'm going to stay in the shade all day.
I just think that's a result of Magenta telling the Buddha's story and needing it to have miracles and magic and amazing things happen.
I'm not a religious person. I don't think
story.
less of people who believe in religion. However, I do feel very strongly that religion is told by magenta and purple.
I mean, I think Amber's the big teacher of like systematized religion, you know, but it's definitely magenta to Amber, and then after that, you're either dismissive or you're like comparative or you're abandonative, you know.
Hmm.
You only take it seriously as a personality, as a personality reacting to things and needing for your wishes to be fulfilled in physical reality to make you the best ego ever. Yeah.
These parables shouldn't be taken as fact.
Yeah.
They should be taken of, I hope you got a lesson out of that somewhere.
Just like reading Lord of the Rings. Like, does that help my
Now
life?
watch
Like,
your
it
mouth.
doesn't need to be true. It just, is it true to me? Does the ultimate battle of goblins versus elves, like, does that mean anything in my life? Is there a truth? That's
I mean,
mythology.
the overlying story of Lord of the Rings was all the different races were able to get together and work not even harmoniously, but work towards the same goal and achieve great things. That's the whole story.
That's, yeah. And so you get that practical thing out of the myth. Obviously, we're not saying it's factually true, you
No,
know, right? That's
absolutely.
mythology. That's how I treat mythology. That's what mythology is to me. Magic is to me 100% placebo. That's equals sign. Magic equals placebo. It's
Okay.
it's a science of using your will to create psychological effects. There's nothing you can do in material reality with that shit. It's all psychological. Thanks for
Okay.
watching this one, guys. We'll see you next time. Mwah. Okay, new one.
Next.
All right.